will speak on what do we mean by the health system, starting from here, and why health system is important for all of us. What are the major objectives of any health system, either it is Indian health system or Sri Lankan health system or any country's health systems. Then what are the functions of a health system? Then there is a relationship between the functions and objectives. Then we will talk about the health systems building blocks as suggested by WHO's, that is also known as WHO's health system framework. And then the later part is more interesting, that how to transform the health system based on our learnings and experience from COVID-19. Let us start with this some background that the health systems have contributed enormously to the people's health and influenced the lives and well-being of people around the world. Health systems have contributed enormously to better health, but their contribution could be still greater, especially for the poor or marginalized group of population. Decision makers, even at the national level, state level, or even at the district level, they need to quantify the variations in the health system performance, identify the factors that influence their performance, and also articulate the policies and modify program strategies that will achieve the better health outcomes in a variety of settings. So I would like to say that health systems performance may be contextual. Therefore, the current context or the current geography is also very important while setting the standards for the health system and the performance identification. Now, what is the health system? Now, coming to just a definition as proposed by the WHO and accepted by many of the countries globally, that a health system consists of all organizations, people, and actions whose primary intent is to promote, restore, or maintain health. This is a very short but very comprehensive definition of the health system. Before coming to this definition, the WHO has done a lot of work on review of literature, consultations, and working group consultations. And finally, it has been emerged that this is one of the comprehensive definition which can be accepted. When we say all organizations, the definition is also very clear that irrespective of the ownership of the health facility, like either it is a public health sector facility or a private health sector facility, it involves in the health system. Sometimes the people have some myths that when we say health system, they mean that it is a public health system, but it is not correct. The private sector is also part of the health system according to this definition. The resources devoted to the health system are very unequally distributed. When I say unequally distributed, it means that where it is required more as per the disease burden, the finances are not available. So in that sense, most of the low and middle income countries face many challenges in the health needs of their population, as well as mobilizing the sufficient financing and securing the value for limited resources. So these are the three major, I think, challenges the low and middle income countries are facing. Now coming to the point that why the health systems are so important for all of us. Actually, health system is very important for all of us. Health system is a means to deliver the health policy. When we say that every country have its national health policy, so naturally the policy are nothing but they are the intentions of the government or the senior stakeholders working in the sector. But the policies are always executed through a system, that is the health system. So naturally, if the health system is weak, the national health policy will be affected very much. The implementation of the national health policy will be affected and influenced by the health systems. Therefore, health system strengthening becomes very, very important, that system should be strong enough, system should be the system should be like this, that whatever we have our national health policy, that can be implemented by that system and operationalize that system. Also, the health system is an important platform for interaction between the multi-stakeholder in the health sector. So when we talk about health, naturally we understand that this is not only one department or one's role. Basically, there are many departments, many other sectors. They contribute in enhancing the health of the population. So naturally, the multi-stakeholder platform and the interaction is also very, very important in health. Last but not the least, the health system components are important area of interaction between the health and development. Now, again, there is a cycle that if we have a healthy population in the country, naturally that will influence the GDP of the country. We have a disease-prone population or the population which is not very healthy, naturally the productivity of the population will be influenced by their health status. So the health and development, they are very much interrelated. And I would like to say that if we invest in health, the development of the country will take place very fast. Now, there are various roles the people we have as a people in the health system. There are four major roles we play in the health system. And the first role, which is very important, that we contribute in the health system as a contributors. So it means that it is not only the government, they are contributing in the health system, but as an individual, we are also contributing into the health system, paying for knowingly or unknowingly. When I say knowingly, it means that whenever we fall sick, we have out-of-pocket spending, or we sometimes we also take insurance policies and we pay the premium. So these are all expenses which we know about the health systems and we are contributing very much. The other part is unknowingly. Whenever we purchase anything, we pay the taxes, and some part of the taxes goes to the health sector also. So definitely our contributions are very much. As a citizen of the country, yes, every citizen, every individual have a stewardship role. It means that they are seeing the government's implementation and all these things, and they have a voice in this, in that they can speak, they can advise the government, and there are many activists also. They are doing this job. Sometimes the individual capacity also the people do this job, and next one is the providers. Yes, we also work as a provider in the health system, since to produce the goods and services. Even in the public sector or in the private sector, the people are working as a doctors, the nursing staff, paramedical staff. So that is their role as a provider in the health sector. They may be engaged with the private sector or they may be engaged with the public sector, irrespective of that. Similarly, there are many agencies, they are producing goods which are directly related, or they are helping the doctors to provide the healthcare services. Say, for example, manufacturing of the medicine or the drugs, manufacturing the equipment, manufacturing of stethoscope, and like that. So it means that there are many people, they are working in the health system as a provider. So therefore, in the providing of the goods as well as the healthcare services. Last, that is a very important, we also contribute in the health system as a consumers. And here, many times we have experienced that our behavior is like that. We go for non-prescription medications. Many times we go to the chemist shop and directly ask for some medicine without consulting to a professional doctor. Now, there are various studies in the many countries, the people are very serious about this, that why the people bypass the doctor's prescription while getting the medicine or any form of interventions for their health. There are two important things which the studies or the literature says, that when we talk about out-of-pocket expenditure or out-of-pocket spending on the treatment, one of the major health policy issue is that we have to reduce the out-of-pocket in the country, since we have a huge out-of-pocket spending. Now, when we study the out-of-pocket expenditure, naturally the medicine is one of the important category which caters a major part of the out-of-pocket expenditure. Around 35 to 40% of the out-of-pocket expenditure goes for purchasing of the medicine. Now the question comes, and many of the researchers try to find out this also, that when the people or the client directly goes to the medicine shop and asks for some medicine without consultation of the doctor, and there are huge chances that the treatment is not age for the disease maybe. So what the chemist is thinking, he is providing some medicine to the, that may also influence on the out of pocket expenditure, because the chemist is not a professionally trained doctor. So the behavior of the client is very, very important when we talk about the out of pocket expenditure. And many times we see that factors like education is also not, sometimes the people say that literate people behave in a good way and illiterate people or non-educated people behave like this. But I would like to say this is not correct. The research evidence say that this is not correct. Irrespective of your education level, the people behaves like that and they go directly to the chemist shop. Now, there are many studies, they are also calculating the increase in the out-of-pocket expenditure due to directly going to the chemist shop. Since when they go to the chemist shop, naturally it may take some time to treat the disease or whatever you have, ill health and like that, and then they finally approach a professional doctor after some time. Now the question is that whatever money they have spent before approaching a professional doctor, that also added to the out-of-pocket expenditure in our country. Again, we say that we have very limited resources. So it means that the resources which the product used, like the essential medicine or drugs, all these things, they are basically consumed by a person where the treatment was not confirmed by the doctor. So these are the issues in the health systems we need to also answer later on, or we have to discuss more as a part of our role. Now, coming to the objectives of the health systems, naturally the health systems have three major objectives. First and foremost is improving the health of the population. When we say improving the health of the population, naturally this is the key role of the health system, that the population health should be very well. Either it is a children or infant or elderly population, irrespective of all. Second, which is very, very important, that responding to the people's expectation means that health systems should have a responsiveness as one of the characteristics as their objective. Health system, if the health system is non-responsive, naturally that will create more problems to the people and the country's population. Third one is the providing financial protection against the cost of ill health. That is also one of the important objective of health system. When we look into these three objectives, naturally things will be more clear to us. If we see the India or various state governments and their working, most of the time they spend time on improving health of the population in terms of, they talk about various health indicators, that this is the IMR, this is MMR, this is the TFR, and like that. So there are many various health indicators through which they measure the health status of the population, and they claim that yes, from last 5 years we have increased the health of the population in terms of the selected indicators. But at the same time, when we talk about health status, it is basically supported by the later two objectives, which I have already written, like responsiveness of the health system. That is the sub-objective, means that if you have a good responsive system, there will be a better health. The chances are that. If the health system is non-responsive, that will also influence the health status of the population, that people would not go to the health system at all if it is not responsive. And that will also influence the health outcomes of the country. Third objective, which is financial protection. Now, this is also very, very important, that unless until we think about that, how the people will get the treatment. If the people are not able to pay for the treatment, shall we avoid those people or not? But in a country like India, we cannot say that we will not treat the people if they are not able to pay. It means that there is a huge work which need to be done, and assurance has to be given the financial protection for those people, those who are not able to pay for the healthcare services. Here now the government has started some working, and like Ayushman Bharat and many other initiatives has been taken to cater the objectives, third objective of the health system. Now, to achieve these three objectives, there are four functions the health system says to carry. And these are the basic functions of the health system. Any health system, either it is an Indian health system or any other country's health systems. First is the delivering services, delivering the healthcare services. That is one of the foremost function of any health system. Second function is financing. And there are three major things which involves in the financing function. First is raising the revenue for the health services. Number two, pooling of the resources. And third one is the allocating the pooled resources appropriately so that the healthcare services can be delivered either through public system or through the private healthcare system. Next function of the health system is creating resources. When I say creating resources, definitely human resource is one of the important resource in the health system, and investment in the human resource, investing in the people through training and capacity building. That is also one of the function of health system. You can recruit the people, you can recruit the doctors, you can recruit the paramedical staff, nursing staff, and also administrators. But time to time, there is a need for investing in these people so that they can work in a very desired manner. They can enhance their skill set as and when required by the health system. Next category of creating resources are infrastructure or the buildings. Now, the infrastructure is also very, very important resource in the health system. That do we have all the public health facilities as per the standards or not? There are standards created by the Government of India for these facilities, and these are known as IPHS, Indian Public Health Standards. But the issue is that do we have our health facilities from district hospital to the community health center, primary health center, as well as the sub-center as per the Indian Public Health Standards? If not, how and when these facilities will be created according to that standard? You require the resources again. Third one is the drugs as well as the supplies related to the various treatment categories. Fourth function is very important, that is the stewardship. Acting as the overall stewards of the resources, powers, as well as expectation entrusted to them. So these are the four basic functions a health system has to carry out to achieve the three objectives of the health system. And through this diagram, I have again explained, this is taken from the WHO, that on the left hand side, there are four functions as we have already described: stewardship, creating resources, financing, and delivering services. And all these four functions, they influence the objectives to be achieved by the health system. And if we see the diagram, it is very clear that health is the ultimate objective. And to achieve this objective, the two sub-objectives are very, very important. If the health system is responsive, if they respond to the client very well, and there are two types of responsiveness. One, the people expect that whenever they visit the health system, one expectation is that the treatment should be very well and they get care as per their illness and they're ready as early as possible. Second responsiveness is that whenever they visit the health system, apart from the clinical treatment or this, they also expect that they should be treated with respect and dignity by the healthcare staff. That is also very important. Many times we observe that the people, when they visit to the district hospital or the community health center, there we see that many of the people, many times the health system treat them with in such a behavior that the people do not consider that it is a dignity and it is a respect given to them. So these things are also very, very important when we talk about improving the health. Improving health does not come automatically. we have to work on responsiveness as well as the fair financing. So these two objectives, if we achieve or focus more, naturally there are greater chances of improving health or good health status of the population. If we come to the left hand side, again you see through the diagram that delivering services is one of the important function of the health system, and that is influenced by all the three other functions. One is stewardship, means that overall leadership, creating the resources, how you are giving training and skill set to the human resources and other things also. And last one is the financing. So if these three functions are taken care, then naturally the delivery of services or the provisioning of services will be better, and that will definitely improve the overall objectives of the health system. Now, when we talk about objectives and all these things, it is important to note the linkages between functions, as these impact the interaction between function specific policies and strategies. Here, I would also like to emphasize that since we have already discussed about the four functions, but these functions, they impact the interaction between function specific policies. Say, for example, there are creating resources as well as delivering services. Now, these are two different functions, but they influence each other. So we have to strategize creating resources in such a way that we are able to achieve good delivery or provisioning services in the health system. Therefore, the synergies here determine synergies among all the four functions, as we have already talked. So the synergies between all the four functions determine the coverage of those who need the healthcare services, means that are we able to cover those people, those who are able to pay, as well as those who are not able to pay. Not able to pay is very important. Some they are the left out people from the health system, that they are not getting the treatment. So that is also taken care, and the quality of the healthcare services as well as the efficiency with which the resources are used in the delivery of healthcare services. So if there is a strong synergy, that synergetic effect will determine the coverage, quality and efficiency of the health resources which we use in the system when provide the healthcare services. If there is a lesser synergy among these four functions, say for example stewardship is and creating resources and financing, they are not aligned each other very well, definitely that will influence the coverage of the healthcare services. That may also influence the quality of the healthcare services. And third one, which is also very important, that will influence the efficiency of the health system. When I say efficiency, again there are many examples of the health system where we can very well observe that the health system is not efficiently working. There are many inefficiencies in the health system, and that will be taken care only when you have a very synergetic effect of all the four functions. Next one, for strengthening of the health system, there a lot of literature from the WHO that when we talk about health systems strengthening, then all the four functions, they have again broken down into the 6 building blocks as suggested by WHO. These are the 6 building blocks for a health system: service delivery, health workforce, information, medical product, vaccines and technologies, financing, and leadership and governance. So these are the 6 building blocks suggested by WHO for strengthening of the health system. Now we see that what does it mean by these 6 building blocks. When we see the 6 building blocks on the left hand side in the green color, and they all are influencing to the objectives which we have already described. There are 3 objectives: responsiveness, risk protection and improved health in the blue color in the right. But these are the this is the framework that when we have these when we have these 6 building blocks in the health system, definitely what they do, they influence the access, coverage, efficiency, equity, quality, safety or sustainability. So these are the immediate indicators through which we measure the health system's performance. And if these criteria are engaging in a good way, like if you have a efficiency, if you have good coverage, good access, good quality, that will create a last one part means that improved responsiveness, improved risk protection, and finally the improved health of the population. Again, if we see the green box very, in detail, then it is the leadership and governance that also influence the health workforce, health information system, and medical product, vaccines and technology. Similarly, leadership के साथ साथ health financing is also influencing these three functions, and all these things influence the service delivery. So definitely when any client or any person outside the system see the health system's delivery, that the things are not very well taken, say for example at the district hospital or at the community health center or even at the private hospital also, then the service delivery that is influenced by these four functions. It means that in that system something is missing, something is not aligned, and therefore that has been seen or observed by the client who are coming to the health system. Now the building blocks, now these are the building blocks, 6 building blocks, but these 6 building blocks again need to be carefully looked into, that they are not working in isolation in the health system. Say for example, we cannot say that if the leadership is very strong, the health system will produce good results. No, it is not like that. If the health workforce or doctors are trained only in isolation, if we see this thing that individual doctors is trained, but other building blocks are not taken care, or if that skills are not aligned with the other functions, definitely that will not create a good result. So the building blocks alone, they do not constitute a system. It is multiple relationships and interactions among the building block. We have 6 building blocks, and in the 6 building block there is a multiple relationships. Like the information box is influencing the leadership. Health financing is also influencing the service delivery. So there is a multiple relationship among these building blocks. How one affect as well as influences the others, and in turn affected by them also, that convert these blocks into a system. So when we talk about the whole system, these are the 6 subsystems, you can say. These are the building blocks, but they have to work together. For example, in our body, we have various parts. We have hand, we have eye, we have brain, we have legs. But in isolation, they do not constitute a system. If all these things are functional and aligned, then only we are very healthy. Similarly, the health system is also very healthy if all the functions are aligned together. As such, a health system may be understood through arrangements as well as the interactions of its parts, and how to enable the system to achieve the purpose for which it is designed. Now, the role of people in the health systems. Already we have talked a little about the role of individual in the health system. But since this is very, very important, that the role of people in the health system, I would again like to have one more slide. It is critical that the role of people in the health system as a provider as well as the client or beneficiaries, people are actors in driving the health system. The whole health system is being driven by the people, and this includes their participation in the health system as an individual, as a civil service society, as a stakeholders, as a networks, as a association members. These are the key actors. They are influencing the each of the building blocks. As we have already talked about, there are 6 building blocks, and these 6 building blocks are influenced by the key actors. And who are the key actors? The people are the key actors, and they have different roles in the health system. These are the 6 building blocks around the people, and the people are seen as a central to these. The health system building blocks are the subsystems, you can say, of the health system that function together in dynamic architecture and synergetic effect. Now coming to the transforming the health system. We just discussed very basics of the health systems and their functions, objectives, as well as the relationship between the functions and objective, and also the health system building blocks. Transforming health systems, COVID and later. Now again, using the same building blocks, let's talk and discuss the issue that how we can further strengthen our health system. The service delivery, as we have already seen, is one of the important building blocks. What is required here? With the experience of COVID-19, I would like to say that integrated health systems of primary, secondary, and tertiary care, there need to be more integration. They are also not working alone or in isolation. When we talk about the better health of the population, they need to be connected. Like the CSC should be connected with the tertiary care hospital, which is required for the referral thing. Primary healthcare institution need to be strongly connected with the secondary and tertiary care. Readiness and response capacity at all levels, at national level, state level, or the district level. Second point, which I think is very important, is that increase the capacity of the system, health system, in terms of the testing, tracing, and treatment. These three T's are very important when we talk about COVID-19 experience. Third point is that enhancing the capacity of local governments. When we say local governments, yes, there is a provision of local government in India also, and there are other organizations which are supporting to the health systems in a more, population-based programs. So it means that when the health system is implementing or interacting with these organizations, it need to be enhanced their capacity, improving the institutions that underpin these interactions, and critically important in order to build the strong health systems. Next point, I see that the multiple organizations interact to influence health system service delivery. There are multiple organizations. We have seen it very well during the COVID-19 that it is not only the hospital. There are many other people, many other organizations in the country. They influence the health system or the delivery, including the Ministry of Health, public as well as the private sector players, non-governmental organizations, professional associations. Private sector influence strongly affect the service delivery of the health system. As we all know that when we see the data from NSS or any other source of information, it's very clear that the private sector is a key player in the India to provide the healthcare services. If we come to the OPD part, definitely private sector is again have a huge percentage of people go to the private sector. In 2019, the WHO has conducted a very interesting study that the clients with children, if they have some cold or something like during the COVID-19 time, so WHO in that study found that around majority of the clients with their children, they would like to prefer to go to the private sector. Majority of the clients. Now, again, there is a question that since the mother or the father of the children, I think they are the best caretaker of their children. When they decide that we need to go to the private party for our children's health status, it gives a lot of messages to us. It gives a clear message whether the public health system is not ready to take those clients. So we can discuss all these issues here also. Private sector influence strongly affect the service delivery of the health system. So we cannot left the private sector alone when we talk about strengthening of the health system. Now the issue is that how to utilize the private sector capacity. That is one of the very interesting point. There is no one size fits all way of maximizing synergies between various sectors to strengthen the health system, because local context varies significantly from district to district, from state to state, and like that. And it has been very well observed during the COVID-19 that one strategy cannot fit to the other state or other district. Even in Rajasthan also, when we have seen that when the Bhilwara district has been a successful during the COVID-19, the similar strategy was not worked out in Jaipur, in Ramganj area. So it means that it is more a context specific, and we need to see this and prioritize our strategic direction accordingly. Models of hospital-based services as well as the community-based services need to be balanced as per the context. Many times we require the hospital beds, and there is a huge cry in the country, hospital beds, ventilators, and all these things. But there are a lot of scope for the community-based services. If we have appropriate community-based service interventions, probability is that you may not be requiring so much hospital beds. Again, there is a question for us that how to balance it out, where we need to invest money, why the community-based interventions are left out, why we focus only on the hospital based. There are many other interventions in other. There are countries they are working very well because they have a very strong community-based services in their country. Next is a health workforce. That is again a very important building block in the health system, and it is also known as the health HRH, human resources for health. Naturally, we have observed that the increasing the trend as well as the skilled workforce in contact tracing and tracing. There is a huge scope and huge demand in the country to train the people for contact tracing, for the case management that is required. Second is that use of medicine health for enhancing the accessibility as well as availability of various treatment or interventions and advices to the population at large. And that has been also observed during this time that IT or the digital space, they can create wonders in the health system. If we talk about health system performance, naturally, I think we could not do much justice to the health system performance. I believe that it is due to that we have not leveraged the technology. Technology is available to all of us. People are available. The scientists are available, but somehow it is not mixed or aligned in the health system as desired. But in the COVID-19 times, we see that suddenly the bureaucrats or the policy makers, they realize the importance of the digital space and telemedicine and all these technology. And they have come up very fast to utilize these. We have seen that the government of India also launched one application, mobile application. And before COVID-19, we have not seen such engagement by the government to come forward for such applications. Next, I would also like for the discussion is that develop the district hospital as the center of excellence for providing training, technical support, as well as the professional support to the public and private sector institutions within the district. As we have seen that the district hospital is one of the nodal institutions from the health sector in the district. And there are many other institutions within the district which are below to the district hospital in terms of capacity and capability. There are CSCs, PSCs, and subcenters, but the district hospital is, you can see, since the government of India have also accepted that the district hospital should be developed as a medical college in the coming years. Since they are thinking towards that line, that the district hospital should be developed as a medical college, then I think district hospital is definitely a point of contact for the whole district. Even the private sector institutions, they should come forward with the district hospital for enhancing their training and capacity as well as the technical support. So this is one of the discussion point we can discuss much more. Next is that the building consensus at the societal level for many of the public health problems also, as we have also observed in the COVID time, and allowing the flexibility and autonomy in the decision making. Many times the people think that the decision making at the state level, we cannot decide many things. So I think we again need to look into this part, that how much flexibility we can give to the lower level or even at the district level, the nodal unit, and also give them some autonomy in their own decisions. Next, the building block is the information. Naturally, the information is, you can say, very important, because unless until we have the accurate information, unless until we have a information which is, you can say, accurate, complete, and also timely. If we have the information which is not timely, then that will also influence the decision-making process. If I need some information, but if it is coming for 2 months later, that will influence my decision-making. And that we have observed very well in the health system, that how the information flows in the health system. It is basically created at the subcentral level to the ANM, which is 10th pass or like that. She filled some information in the monthly report, that goes to the primary health center, that goes to the district headquarters, and that goes to the state level. But the whole issue is that whether these information are being analyzed at every level or not. Sometimes the people say that they just send the information. Even the district CMHO, he does not look into carefully that what is happening at various PSCs or various CSCs. He just compile and send it to the state level. And state level, again, they have to analyze it at the district and comparisons and all these things, and then take some strategic directions or corrective actions. Number two is that have the capacity to synthesize the information and promote the availability and application of this knowledge. Last point which I have observed during the COVID-19, that strengthening the health surveillance information system for diseases which are important, which have diseases of public health importance. So we need to strengthen this surveillance information system. We will talk about later also. Next building block is the medical products and technologies. We have standards, we have guidelines for various things in the health system, but revisit of all the standards. Like we have standards for district hospital, we have IPHS standard, Indian Public Health standards, Indian Public Health standards for DH and all other institutions. But when I see the Indian Public Health standards for district hospital, I found that their rethinking is required at the national level. A revisit is required whether these standards are appropriate or not. Somehow, after the COVID-19 experience, I feel that these standards need to be worked again. Some things still missing in the standards, something missing in the guidelines. So many of these observations coming together, and many of the agencies are started working on these, like WHO and even the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. They have started working with the state governments, even on the guidelines. Say, for example, there is a guidelines for maternal and child health care program. Now they are looking to these guidelines very specifically now, that after COVID-19, whether the accessibility of healthcare services will be as per standard before COVID-19, and also even after the COVID-19, can we go ahead with those guidelines? But now they are realizing that no, that cannot be possible. So we have to revise these guidelines, and work has already been started at the ministry level to revise the guidelines. Similarly, like family planning program, and there are many programs in the India. We have the various national health programs, but every national health programs guidelines are need to be revisited. Similarly, revisit the procurement, supply, storage, distribution policies, as well as the guidelines. The next one is the support for rational use of essential medicines and commodities and equipment through guidelines, strategies to assure adherence to the reduce resistance, maximize the patient safety, as well as the training. Now, next is the financing. Now, this is very much important when we talk about health system strengthening. The health financing policies should focus on strengthening health systems resilience, security, health security, as well as the universal health coverage in a broader way. Means the health system policy should focus these things when we talk about health system policies at the country level. Now, whether these things are being taken care or not, again, that is an issue. Increasing the public health spending. It is a long due problem in India that currently the public health spending in India is only 1.3% of GDP, which I would like to say that it is a underfunded health system. If we have underfunded health system, how we can strengthen the primary health care? Since the primary health care is so weak in our country, I think it is only because it is underfunding of the health sector. Majority of the funds goes to the tertiary care or secondary care institutions. And the government of India, our policy, National Health Policy 27, which is the latest policy in India, It clearly says that there is an intention to increase it by 2.5% of GDP by 2025. Now, 1.3% of GDP, that is also a very challenge for us, since earlier, before the NRHM, National Rural Health Mission, came into existence in India, we have only 0.9% of GDP public spend. It means that for many years, we were stagnant. We were not taken care appropriately the health sector, and we remained at 0.9% of GDP. Then the NRHM came into picture, and through the NRHM, there is a push factor in the health system to increase the public health spending. And due to NRHM effect and efforts, the public health spending after 10 years, like NRHM started in, now there are 10, 12 years after the NRHM, now we see that it increased from 0.9% of GDP to 1.3% of GDP. Now imagine when we will reach to 2.5% of GDP. It is really very difficult, very challenging by 2020. Can we increase from 1.3% to 2.5% in just 5 years? I don't see if this is the speed of the government, or if these are the efforts by the government. We need to think very carefully how to increase the public health spending. Now, when we talk about public health spending, there are two components. One is contribution by the central government, and second is the contribution by the state government. Now, since health is a state subject in India, naturally major part goes to the state health budget. But currently the state's health budget do not share much to the health budget. And again, the national health policy intention is that the states share to the health budget, it should be more than 8% of their budget. The current rate is 5 to 6%. Now again, how to convince the state to increase the health budget? This is very, very emerging issue for the public health academic and researchers, that they should find a way. They should find a way to convince the state governments to increase your funding for the health sector. Unless and until they convinced to share more in the health sector, the probability is that we will not be able to achieve 2.5% of GDP by 2025, which is our intention in the health policy. And since if the state's share will increase, definitely that will give more space to the strengthening of the primary health care in the particular state. Next, apart from the public health sector or the public health spending, there should be a strong policy for the private sector engagement. Although there are policies for private sector engagement by various state governments, like we have various public-private partnership type of things, PPP, but still many of the states, sometimes they face the challenge because of the PPP. Many times they face the problem that the private sector is also facing a problem that the government is not trusting them when they go for the public-private partnership type of thing. Always the government see that the private sector is not doing the job as per the desired guidelines. And then the private sector demotivates or frustrated that we are doing very good, but still the government is not trusting us. So these are some of the soft issues when we talk about public-private partnership engagement. So engaging the private sector is must. Already we have discussed that the people are going to the private sector. Means that private sector have some capacity, some competency. Therefore, the people are attracted by the private sector. Otherwise, why the people will go to the private sector? Now, the challenge for the government is that how to engage the private sector. They cannot be engaged by one strategic direction. Select a fit for purpose strategy. Fit for purpose strategy, that is very important, has been implemented by many countries, as well as fit for context strategy to engage the private sector. So you have to deal the private sector very carefully, since they also have strength, they also have capacity, they also have systems, they also have trained and experienced staff. Now, how to engage? That is the challenge, and there need to be good, clear guidelines need to be worked on. Private sector engagement can be in terms of the space, staff, stuff, and even also at the system. Many things are good in the private sector that can be taken by the government with the help of private sector to run the even the public health system also. We have seen that in the COVID times that there is a great, uh, every time we see on the TV that there is a fight between the public sector, fight the government and private sector. In Delhi, the government is saying that the private sector is not supporting. And similarly, the private sector says that we are supporting, but the government is not trusting us. So it means that there are some issues among the public and private sector engagement that need to be sorted out urgently. And last one, which is very important, that now we have the CSR funding portfolio in the country. Many of the big corporate houses, they have to have CSR funding. They have to have CSR as per the regulations. Now, can we channelize, can we leverage that CSR funding for the health sector? That also need to be worked out. Various state governments also need to focus this funding also. Last but not the least, the building block is the leadership and governance. Very important leadership part. And when we say leadership, that is the spread leadership. It is not like one person is known as the leadership. There are many persons who are known as leader, or the leadership environment is created by a team of people. Even in the health sector also, that message should go even at the district level that you are also the key leaders in the health system. So articulation of a vision as well as a long-term strategic approach is required by the leaders. Many times we see that in the health systems, we just focus short-term strategic approach. Even in the COVID-19 times, since we were not prepared, since we were not knowing that what would happen after 2 months or 3 months. So there was no alternative. The alternative was only to go for short-term strategic direction. But this clearly reflected that we are lacking a long-term strategic approach for such episode. If such public health emergencies comes into the country, then are we prepared or not? COVID-19 experience clearly depicted that we were not prepared. So it means that a long-term strategic vision, long-term strategic approach is required in the country, even for the next many years, if such public health emergencies occur. Second part is that the developing resilience health systems, learning from experiences, very important. We have learned a lot during the COVID-19. Feedback into policy cycle, feeding back into the policy cycle, support from governance and socio-economic context in the country. Achieving the synergies among sectors and actors. Very, very important. Unless until we have synergetic effect between public and private sector, definitely we will have a more difficult and more challenging times to treat the people. When we talk about health, I think the is also playing a role. Public sector is also playing a role. But when the issue comes for the health of the people, I think both should work together to save the lives of the children. They are not different. Their objective is also not different. Demonstrating openness to dialogue and collaboration between public and private sector. Again, I would like to say that the leadership should consider this on a priority, that can they create an open dialogue with the private sector and how the collaborations can be strengthened very well with effective government oversight.